The man who admitted to shooting and killing 3 people at a Planned Parenthood in Colorado Springs has died. Inmate records show 67-year-old Robert Deere died in federal custody in Springfield, Missouri 3 days ago on November 22nd. The Federal Bureau of Prisons says preliminary findings say he died from natural causes. The 3 people killed were 35-year-old Jennifer Markovsky, 29-year-old Kier Stewart, and 44-year-old Garrett Swayze, a UCCS police officer. 9 other people were hurt in that shooting, including 5 police officers and 4 civilians. We are bringing you team coverage tonight on Deere's death. Our Allison Zimmerman spoke with survivors. Senior reporter Brett Forrest spoke with one of the officers who responded to the scene that day. And senior reporter Megan Glova is breaking down a law that stalled the case against Robert Deere for years. Good evening, and thank you for joining us for News 5 at 6. I'm Diane Derby along with Allison Zimmerman. Allison, you've been speaking with survivors and families of the victims.
Right, Diane. I also spoke with a former district attorney, Dan May. He was one of the original prosecutors on this case. He says he continues to feel sorry for the victims, but now he can talk openly about a case that's been under tight lips for a decade.
I heard it on the radio, and I got to tell you, I was kind of shocked. I kind of did a double take.
That's how former 4th Judicial District Attorney Dan May got the news. The man who admitted to killing 3 people at the Colorado Springs Planned Parenthood in 2015 had died.
My first thought is I really felt sorry for the victims. You know, in the end, he's exactly where he ought to be.
May left office in the beginning of 2021. He did not expect this case to have been stalled for as many years as it was.
Robert Deere always wanted to plead guilty.
Deere was found incompetent to stand trial numerous times. He faced federal and state charges. And most recently, a federal evaluator said he is likely not restorable.
This was kind of an odd case that he came in day one wanting to plead guilty, willing to take the penalties associated with that.
The news of Deere's death also reaching survivors and victims' families.
You know, it's a sense of relief.
Ozzy Lacano was in the parking lot the day of the shooting. He drove up from Otero County. He was originally coming to the Springs to run an errand, but his neighbors had an appointment at Planned Parenthood and needed a ride. 10 years later, he's still trying to make sense of what happened.
No, I mean, why does he deserve forgiveness? I mean, I can forgive, but I'm never going to forget. I just don't understand that kind of evil in people that think that they can get away with it, or they think they've justified their actions for whatever thick reasons they have in their head. It's beyond me.
At a court hearing earlier this month, state prosecutors said the process was underway to have Deere civilly committed to a federal mental health facility for treatment, as a federal evaluator said he was likely not restorable. Today, the 4th Judicial District Attorney's Office says it will now begin the process of dismissing the criminal case in state court.
And Allison, I know you also had a chance to speak with Jennifer Markovsky's widower.
Right, and we talked for probably about 15 minutes. He said, you know, this brings him closer to closure, but ultimately, he'll never have real closure in this case. One of the things in talking with victims and survivors of this case that we heard is there were a range of emotions, but initially there was anger there in this case not going to trial. Over the years in Markovsky's case, he said he's made peace with it, but really it's been a long 10 years and a range of emotions in this.
So many emotions today for sure, Allison. Thank you for your reporting. Today, our senior reporter Brett Forrest spoke with Jake Skifstad, who was a CSPD SWAT officer that day and responded to the Planned Parenthood shooting. Brett joins us live. Brett, he tells you Robert Deere faced, quote, perfect justice.
Yeah, Diane, Jake Skifstad is a man of faith, so in his words, he says Robert Deere has now met Jesus Christ. I asked him about the day of the shooting when he looked Robert Deere in the eyes. Saw him face to face when he was surrendering?
Correct.
Can you tell me about that? I can't imagine what that's like.
I did not expect to be able to look into the eyes of a true active shooter. And I'll tell you, when he was surrendering and I got to see him for the first time, I was just kind of taken back by it of, this is an active shooter that I am looking at in person. And I just remember looking into his eyes and just thinking, you know, what could you do? What has happened in your life that you would get to this point where you would want to do this? And it was just a surreal moment.
Years since, Skifstad has started his nonprofit Shield 616, which provides support and safety gear for law enforcement and first responders. And today, upon news of Robert Deere's death, he has this message for our viewers.
Just be praying. Be praying for the law enforcement, all the people affected by this, obviously those that lost loved ones, those that were injured. Obviously for Rachel Swayze and her kids, it's probably going to open up a lot of, thoughts and emotions. And, my hope is, like I said, that this would bring some closure, some peace for them. But, a piece of them was taken away, and will never be replaced.
And Rachel Swayze is a widow of UCCS officer Garrett Swayze, who died that day. Now, Skifstad hopes more evidence and information will be released, since much of it has been withheld as this court process played out. I'm Brett Force reporting, News 5.
Brett, thank you. Deere's competency to stand trial was at the forefront of his court hearings. He was first found incompetent to stand trial in the state case in 2016. A judge ruled him incompetent to stand trial multiple times. He was at the medical facility in Missouri to start medication to try to restore his competency. Earlier this year, a federal evaluator said he was likely not restorable, even though he was being medicated against his will. And it's likely lawmakers will take up competency in criminal cases again next year. News 5's Megan Glova joins us now with a look at the law here in Colorado. Megan.
Diane, in 2024, Colorado law surrounding competency changed. It now requires judges to dismiss charges on suspects who are found incompetent and not restorable. Before, judges had a bit more discretion. The wording went from may dismiss to shall dismiss, and that means judges have to dismiss those charges. Since then, Colorado has had several cases where defendants were found incompetent and charges were dropped. Scripps News Group Denver found that while some of those people went to the state's mental hospital, others were released back into the public. As you can imagine, this change has brought outcry from crime victims and family members, including the widow of UCCS officer Garrett Swayze. He died in the Planned Parenthood shooting. In a statement, Rachel Swayze told News 5, quote, "We understand that there is a delicate balance between criminal behavior and competency determinations. Unfortunately, there are far too many examples where criminals who've committed violent crimes are released by the courts, and the victims got no justice and see the offender receive no accountability for their crimes. We ask that our governor and legislators take the issue seriously and make this issue a top priority. This is the only way we can ensure that our communities are safe and victims and families can heal." Now, Governor Jared Polis did meet with crime victims and families of victims last month to talk about those state competency laws. He told them he'll demand the legislator to fix the law come January. That's when the lawmakers are back in session. Diane?
Megan, thank you. To see all of our previous coverage on the Planned Parenthood shooting and the case against Robert Deere, you can visit our website, KOAA.com, or download the free News 5 app.